Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Time Thief deck profiles. This deck can end on some really crazy boards between 5 to 6 negates, which is absolutely crazy. If you guys haven't seen the test hands for the previous build, you definitely should go check that out. But this deck just got even better with Time Thief Adjuster coming out and Time Thief Double Barrel coming out. Like, it is insanely good. This deck is so fun to play, and it's just really, really awesome, especially if you love rank 4s. So, without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of notifications, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month your patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 of the new Time Thief Adjuster. So Adjuster is insanely good and replace cards in this deck that just aren't needed anymore because how good this card is. If this card is normal or special summon, if you normal or special summon a Time Thief monster except another copy of this card, then you can immediately special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can send a Time Thief card from your deck to the graveyard, which helps you out a lot in this deck because a lot of your cards benefit off of being in the graveyard, which is really, really nice. And this card is overall just insanely good in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Time Thief Winder, which I'm so glad that goes from the past, like rarity bumped this entire deck to be ultra, which is just amazing. Like, I love that so much. But what this card does is you can detach a material from an XZ monster you control to special summon this card from your hand, and if this card is normal or special summon, you get to add a Time Thief card from your deck to your hand, which is an overall really, really amazing effect. We then play 3 copies of Time Thief Regulator. Regulator is really good too because if you control no monsters, you contribute this card to special summon 2 Time Thief monsters with different names from your deck in defense position except another copy of itself. And when an XZ summon you control is destroyed by or if an XZ monster you control is destroyed by battle, while this card's in your graveyard, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. This card is literally the best card to open because this card can lead to so many different plays. This card is so important for the deck. Play the same copy of Chronocoder. Chronocoder is just a one of. It's not the best Time Thief card, but it's another Time Thief card. And it's a good card to like add from your deck to your hand because during your opponent's battle phase, you can quick effect tribute this card. And then the next battle phase or the next battle that is that your opponent declares an attack on and that inflicts battle damage to you is inflicted to your opponent instead, which is pretty good. So they take the damage instead of you. And then if a face-up XZ monster you control leaves the field by a card effect while this card's in their graveyard, then you can special summon this card by banishing when it leaves the field. It's just a one-of to me. I wouldn't play it any more than one because you don't really have any other Time Thief cards that you can play, but this card is really good as a one-of. We then play a single copy of Bezel Ship. Bezel Ship is a good one-of because you can tribute this card and then target a Time Thief XZ you control and attach 1 card from your opponent's graveyard to that monster as a material, which can help you get different types of cards like monster spells and traps onto your double barrel to get all sorts of different crazy effects. And it also has the ability to, if this card's in the graveyard and you detach the material off of an XZ monster and then immediately special summon this card back. It's a good one-of. I wouldn't play it at any more than 1, but you need to play it at least 1 because of the really awesome effect of being able to just grab cards out of your opponent's graveyard. We then play a couple of Raid Raptors in here, which is a single copy of StaringAtGames for combos that if you control a dark monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. And also you can't special summon anything but dark for the rest of the turn. And if you control an XZ monster with a dark XZ monster or dark XZ monster as material, then you can target 1 level 4 or lower Raid Raptor in the graveyard and special summon it, which is a really good effect because you play a couple of other Raid Raptors in the deck. Play the same copy of Singing Lannis because if you control an XZ monster, you can just immediately summon it to your side of the field, which is really good. 1 copy of Raider's Wing. This card is really good, and you're going to see this card a lot as you play the deck because it has the ability that if this card's in your hand or grave, you can detach a material from a dark XZ monster to special summon this card from your hand but banish it when it leaves the field. You just effect this card once per turn. And an XZ monster you control that's dark that has this card as a material gains the ability that your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. And this card also is treated as a Phantom Knight and a Raid Raptor card, which is really, really good always. We then play 3 copies of Parallel XZs. Parallel XZs is good because you have a lot of different crazy combos with this card that you can just normal summon out a card that has less than 1,000 attack on your side of the field, like a Raider's Wing, immediately go for an Alamirage, and then summon out this, and then summon out a second one to your side of the field, which is really cool to just immediately get you a rank 4. It's overall a really great extender, so this card is very important for the deck. We play the same copy of Rocket Tracer because you play Quick Launch in this deck. 1 copy of Rocket Recharger, same thing, you just play a small rocket engine in the deck in the form of Quick Launch, so this card's really good in the deck to be able to get you additional rank 4s. 1 copy of Zaphros the Elite because because Zapdos the Elite can special summon itself to your side of the field by returning a monster to your hand, or returning any card on your side of the field to your hand and then taking 400 points of damage. We play a single copy of Silent Boots and Ancient Cloak because you play Bard in this deck, and this card is really good at getting you searches. This searches spells, this searches any card that says Phantom Knight in its name, which is really cool. It's the Phantom Knight card, but it can't search anything that's like Fogblade because it doesn't say the Phantom Knight, but it can search stuff like Rusty or Shade Brigadine, which is really good. Shade Brigadine is the main target that you're going to be searching with this card, so it's a really good one of. And then we play 3 copies of Ash Blossom because Ash Blossom just gives us additional negations against our opponent, which is really nice. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Call by the Grave. The Call by the Grave is basically here just to stop your opponent's hand traps. We play a single copy of Monster Reborn just as a great extender in this deck. You really just need these as extenders. 1 copy of Startup. Startup is also really good because it lets you special summon a Time Thief monster from your hand. And then during your main phase, you can banish this card from the graveyard and then target 1 Time Thief XZ you control and attach 3 Time Thief cards with different types, 1 monster, spell, and trap from your graveyard to that monster as a material. But you have to have all 3, which is the only downside to it, but it's really important to grab all 3 and have the ability to put them on because like Double Barrel has some ridiculous effects if you can get all 3 on it. 1 copy of Soul Shave because it can help you go into infinity. 1 copy of the Phantom Knight's Rank Up Magic Force because you can summon out some really crazy cards in this deck with this card, and it's really amazing to be able to rank up into some other stuff. And then we play 3 copies of Quick Launch because it can get you some quick level 4s on your side of the field. If you open multiples of it, it's not once per turn. And this card is just really, really good overall in this deck. So that's pretty much it for your spells. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, I'm playing a single copy of Flyback. Flyback is basically here because Flyback is going to get you a lot of different plays in the deck with your copy of Startup. It lets you target a Time Thief XZ monster you control and attach a Time Thief card from your hand or deck to it as a material. You can banish this card from the graveyard to target Time Thief XZ monster you control and attach 1 card from your opponent's graveyard to that monster as a material, which is really, really good. We play a single copy of Retrograde. Retrograde is insane because it's a speed spell 3 negation of a spell and trap, which is really good when you have a Time Thief monster on your side of the field and you get the activation. If you do, you attach that card to a Time Thief XZ monster you control. So it not only negates it, but it takes the card completely out of play by equipping it to one of your Time Thief monsters as a material. And then we play 2 copies of Fogblade because the Fogblades are searchable in this deck, and it's just really easy to summon Bard in this deck to be able to just immediately set both of these on your side of the field and give you those 2 extra negations. We then play 3 copies of the Phantom Knight of Shade Brigadine for the last 3 cards in the main deck. Shade is just really good because you can set this and immediately activate it as an additional level 4 monster, and it's a trap, so it's really good to go in with this card with your copy of your Redoer and your copy of your Double Barrel. Just giving it a trap as a material is really, really good. So that's it for your main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, I'm just playing a single copy of Double Barrel for now. I just have found that 1 is fine because what it does is it takes 2 level 4s to summon it, and it gains different effects depending on the different types of materials. It works exactly the same as your copy of Redoer, but a little bit worse because it can't attach materials on its own. That when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can detach up to 3 materials from this card, and then depending on what you detach, it gains different abilities. If you detach a monster, it gains 400. If you detach a spell, you take 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, and you take control of it until the end phase, but it can't declare an attack or activate its effects. That escalated very quickly from 400 attack to take an opponent's monster, and now it's yours until the end phase. Or if you negate a trap, or you send a trap, you negate the effects of 1 face-up monster on the field until the end phase. That also escalated very quickly. This card is really, really, really good, and it's just ridiculous how good Double Barrel is. If you can get a trap on this card, it's a disruption, which is really, really nice. We then play 2 copies of Redoer. Redoer is just ridiculously good. Redoer is just so like the main card of this deck that is ridiculous. It lets you once per turn during your standby phase, you get to attach the top card of your opponent's deck to this card as a material, and then you can detach materials from this card and then activate the effects depending on which ones you detach. If you detach a monster, you banish the card in the end phase. You detach a spell, you draw a card. If you detach a trap, you get to select 1 card your opponent controls and put it back on the top of their deck, which is a really awesome effect. We could play a single copy of Petrula, this card is really good too, because she has the ability that during the standby phase, you can detach a material from her and then target a Time Thief monster in the graveyard and special summon that monster. And then quick effect, you get to target one other Xyz monster you control and attach a Time Thief card from your deck to that monster, which is why you play extra flybacks and startups, because you can just equip spells and traps to your monsters, so you get additional effects off of your Redoer and your Double Barrel. One copy of Infinity, because Infinity is really easy to summon in this deck, on top of your copy of your Force Strix with your Soul Shave Force. One copy of Tornado Dragon, because it gives you additional pops of spells and traps. You play a single copy of Raider's Knight, because Raider's Knight lets you go into Arc Rebellion, which Arc Rebellion is kind of like the OTK piece of the deck, and it's just so much better now that you're not playing Dinotherium and Hat Trigger in this deck. Like, dropping those cards for the other cards that I play in this deck now, like, this card is so good to be able to go into, because it's so easy to now, just to Cold Wave the field, and it gains attack for every monster that's on the field. And then also, it can get really big really fast. Like, this card can get out of hand really fast for your opponent. One copy of Nightmare, because it's Book of Moon, essentially. Two copies of Force Strix, because Force Strix gives us additional searches, and these are combo cards for the deck that lets you detach a material to search a Darkwing Beast from your deck to your hand, which is any of your Raid Raptors or Zaphros. One copy of Double A Zeus, because it can board wipe. And then for the Link monster, we're playing a single copy of Rusty Bard. Rusty Bard can let you set or send to the graveyard a copy of a Phantom Knight card to be able to search a Phantom Knight spell or trap and set it to your side of the field, which is really good. And then you can banish the copy of either your cloak or boot to be able to search additional Fog Blades. So basically on summon, this is going to give you 2 disruptions, which is really cool. Wise Tricks, because you use this to step into your copy of Bard, and it also gives you a rank up magic spell, and it gives you a level 4 Darkwing Beast, which is usually going to be Zaphros or Raider's Wing that you're going to be using with this card. And then an Alamirage for the copy of your Parallel Xyz, because you can link away a monster that has less than 1,000 attack on the normal summon, and then immediately summon Parallel Xyz to the link arrow that this card points to, and then summon an additional Parallel Xyz that's also level 4 to give you a copy of your Force Strix to be able to start climbing from there. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really, really cool deck to play with. I highly recommend, if you guys have not played with Time Thieves before, you definitely should, because this deck is ridiculously fun to play with, and it's really easy to kind of understand, because you're basically just throwing out a bunch of monsters on your side of the field until you get this really insane board. It's a really crazy deck, and I'm really, really excited to show you guys it. So anyways, guys, this is Dark Armed Duels. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.